Good afternoon, everyone. Greetings from The Hague. It is very windy at the moment, but well, here we are. We are surviving the weather and also the pandemic. Today, we are going to talk about the Economics of Development major, which is part of the Master of Development Studies program at ISS. Here with me today is Matthias, as you can see him clearly now. Matthias Rieger. He is the course leader of the program, and joining him is Harsha Jayan from India, who is the current student of this major. So without further ado, I'm going to pass on the floor to Matthias Rieger, and he's going to explain in detail what the Economics of Development major is all about. And if you have any questions, you can use the chat box and you can place your questions there already while Matthias and Harsha is explaining. And then we will come back to you at the end with a Q&A session. Thank you. Matthias.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm very happy to be here today with you to present you the major in the Economics of Development. And we will first go through some of the slides that I prepared for you, and then we can answer all the questions that you have and help you make a better decision because you're about to make very important decisions which concern your future. And I also have with me here Harsha, and she will also be able to give you the student perspective of things. So what is the major all about? What is Economics of Development? We call it ECD all about. Well, what we want to do is to give you insights into economic problems around the world that ultimately we want to teach how to get to more equitable and sustainable development. Now we're in a good position to teach the economics of development. By the way, the program as a whole, the development studies as a whole program has been ranked first in the Netherlands now in the QS ranking. In the Netherlands. Worldwide, we're ranked number 12. So, if you're making a decision to come to the ISS, all the rankings would support that at the moment. In the Economics of Development major, and more specifically, we are specialized in kind of looking at contemporary debates in the global economy. We want to teach you economic theories from multiple perspectives. Also giving you an overview of alternative schools of thought, and we also want to give you tools at hand how to work with economic data and employ quantitative but also qualitative analytical techniques. And really, if I think of one of the strengths of this program is that in everything we do, we kind of try to teach you, tools to analyze, but then also apply them in the real world with case studies and applications, because ultimately we want to train you to become very good economists that will be employable in governments, in NGOs, in the academic world. And so kind of having this mix of both theory, tools, but also applied cases makes this major very special. We can move through some of the slides now to give you some more details. So slide number 3. So overall, we want to give you good knowledge and understanding of economic issues that are contemporary. So that includes, for instance, now also what are the economic effects of the pandemic that we're all going through. And it's one of the examples where, kind of local problems have become global problems and vice versa. So a lot of the teaching will look at the global level, but also relate back to the local level and vice versa. Another learning outcome that we have in this major is to really give you an ability to analyze, to be critical, to apply theories, to look at evidence critically. And again, this pandemic has shown that, a critical look at data with some theories in mind can really make a difference when it comes to public health and government's decision making. On slide number 4, you see some other intended learning outcomes. We want you to make informed judgments based on studying interventions, and then also making policy recommendations. And then ultimately, you can do all the research and understanding that you need to understand problems we want to solve in our societies, but you also have to communicate them. And a lot of the teaching we do also involves how to communicate both in written form, but also orally, some in a multicultural context, in a complicated global context. And all of that is kind of inspired also by the attitudes that we want to kind of shape. We want to form students that are critical, that are reflective, that challenge conventional wisdoms, especially when it comes to economic theories, and don't just accept kind of the standard kind of group speak or group think. Now, if you join us, and I hope you do, you will go through a 15.5 months journey, and here you see some slides, some photos on the slides from our graduation ceremony, and you would be graduating in December 2022, and it's a very festive ceremony and very, very special thing. Now I want to talk a little bit more about what kind of expertise we have as a teaching team. As I said, I'm the convener of the program, the major in economics of development, but also have a number of colleagues that each focuses on a certain area in economics. So we both more generally cover macroeconomic issues and microeconomic issues and how these are linked. And so some of my colleagues are more macroeconomists, and I myself, for instance, I'm a microeconomist. I focus more on microeconomic decisions, how individuals make decisions, households make decisions. Here on slide 6, you see my colleagues. You see we have a very diverse team. You see my colleague Eleftherios Papirakis. He's a Greek national. He focuses mainly on resource economics, the macroeconomy, poverty and inequality at the global and macroeconomic level. He also is an expert on environmental issues. His colleague Lorenzo Pellegrini is an environmental economist. He works a lot in Latin America, in the Amazon, for instance, looking at oil extraction in the Amazon, resource extraction. My colleague Natasha Wagner is a micro development economist. She works a lot on health issues in various countries, including Burkina Faso in Africa, but also in other places. I myself, you see here a photo of myself, a bit younger than now. I'm a behavioral development economist, so I mainly work on trying to understand how people's real behavior deviates from what economic models classically would predict, and how often we make bad decisions, stupid decisions, and what kind of psychological factors might explain that, and apply that a lot to, for instance, at the moment, to health decision making. My colleague Semsem Shikut is assistant professor in global health. So she works a lot on health issues, especially in Ethiopia, but also other African countries. My colleague Arjun Bedi, an Indian national, he's mainly a labor economist, so he works a lot on labor issues in India, and but also more generally in applied micro development economics. My colleague Mansoub Murshid is an excellent economist from Bangladesh. He works a lot on conflict and peace, kind of looking at the political economy of that, but also at the macroeconomic effects. Then we also have Peter van Bergijk. He's also more a macroeconomist. He works on the global financial system. So if you were interested in, sustainability of the financial system, financial reform, then he's your go-to person in terms of expertise. And then another Dutch colleague, Robert Sparrow, he works a lot on education and labor economics, especially in Indonesia. So for the Indonesian students here, he's a very interesting person to go and talk to. And then finally, my colleague Binyam Afewerk de Mena, he's an expert when it comes to synthesizing evidence. He's an expert on meta-analysis and research, and he's also worked a lot on the behavior of firms in developing countries. So as you can see, we have a very diverse set of teachers in this program, and everyone generally finds somebody he can work with, especially, or he or she can work with, especially when it comes to the master thesis later on. If you want to know a little bit more about what kind of research we do, because that informs all of our teaching, a lot of what we teach is based on our research. You can check out our website, and you see, for instance, kind of some recent work I have done here on slide 7, but also my colleague Arjun Bedi has an extensive profile. We can look a little bit at the recent publications of people to see their interests. Now I want to come to the structure of the MA program, and we'll give you first the overall structure, and then also comment a little bit how the major in ECD is special from the other majors. Okay, so on slide 10 you can see that the program lasts 15.5 months for a total of 88 European credits, and that's mainly a measure of workload. It's a very intensive program, so it's a full-time program, but there is also a possibility to take the program part-time. So the workload is in total 88 times 28 hours for 2,464 hours. Now, as I said, there's an overall structure of the MA in Development Studies, and that's shown on slide 11. You also find more details in our academic calendar that you find on the website. Now, the program starts off in term 1 in early September with some foundation courses and a general course that all students take together from all majors. In the second part of term 1, you also will take your compulsory major course. Okay, and I'm going to give you some more details about this in a while, but this is essentially looking at the foundations of macro and microeconomic development. In term 2, you take another major course that's specific to the major of ECD, and you will start taking some research techniques courses. As I said, we want to equip you also with the technical tools to be able to analyze problems, and this is done through the research techniques courses. But there's also some space for you to take optional courses inside and outside of the major. So one of the things that makes ISS special is that you can take not only economics courses, but actually you are encouraged also to take courses outside of economics in sociology, political science, anthropology, and because we don't want to kind of train economists blindfolded and don't know what's going outside of their field, which is done in many other schools, and we want to give you kind of a broad understanding, a very critical understanding as well. In term 3, then you have some more compulsory courses that focus on working towards your master thesis, which in ISS is called the research paper. And in term 4, you will be really fully focused on the research paper, and there you will get a lot of support by our staff to work on a topic that's really important to you and that looks at an important social issue, a social problem that you want to analyze from an economic point of view. On slide 12, you see that before coming here, you will all come with a certain base preparation, but you all come in with different levels of different subjects, based on your prior preparation. And so at the beginning of the program, you will take some diagnostic tests, and you will be exposed to, quantitative methods a lot in the ECD majors. We want to see how you're doing and kind of bring everyone on the same level playing field. We're going to do these diagnostic tests at the beginning. And then, depending on your previous preparation, you will get some remedial courses so that everyone gets up to speed before the actual courses start. On slide 13, I'm going to start giving you a little bit more detail about the specific courses that I showed you in the overview. At the beginning, as I said, you will take some foundation courses, and these will be across 3 disciplines, so sociology, political science, and economics. So even economists can't get away without taking some sociology or political science courses. So to give you kind of that broad social science background that you need at the beginning. Now, these foundational courses are pitched at different levels. So they're pitched for those who have never taken political science. You will take a kind of introductory political science course. For those that are already taking some political science, for instance, they will take an intermediate one. So we're really trying to kind of tailor make the program to your prior preparation and interests. Now, I also mentioned at the beginning that in term 1, you will not only take some of these foundational courses, you will also take a general course. Here on slide 14, there are some details, and that course is called The Making of Development, Histories, Theories, and Practices. That's an 8-credit course, so it's a fairly substantial course. It's compulsory to all majors, so you will also have the benefit of interacting with students from the other majors. And it's really the common theoretical and analytical foundation of the overall program in development studies. There are some plenary sessions, but also some online sessions, interactive sessions. And it gives you a broad overview from theories of development from an economic point of view, from a sociological point of view, anthropological point of view. It also gives some courses on more gender perspective and so forth. So it's a very diverse course, showcasing ISS and its staff and expertise and so on. Then moving on, as said, you will also have to take some research techniques courses. We want to give you the tools at hand to be analyzed problems. And in ECD, of course, some of these courses will focus more on quantitative techniques. So you will have to take some statistics and econometrics courses. And I just want to say that these are also preparing you later on, not only for your work in the major, but also later on when you go on the job market. Increasingly, employers will ask for quantitative skills, and so this is also one reason why these are included in the course program. Now, as I said, ISS offers MA in development studies, and you are interested to specialize in the major in economics of development. And the major really is an integral part of your overall study. So the majority of credits are going to be coming from your major. And so here on slide 16, you have some details on that. So first, you will have to take some compulsory major courses. In term 1, it's called Principles of Economic Development. And that course really gives an overview of macro and microeconomic theories and evidence in the field of development. This is compulsory, as I said, but when it comes to the second major course, you have some flexibility. That's going to be in term 2. And for instance, you could take a course called Growth, Inequality, and Poverty, or you could take a course more focusing at the global economy. So to repeat, the first major course, everyone takes the same course. It's called Principles of Economic Development. The second course is called Growth, Inequality, and Poverty. Is either Growth, Inequality, and Poverty or the global economy. In addition, a lot of the credits that you will accumulate will come from a master thesis that you will prepare. And that master thesis is meant to kind of put into practice all the tools you have been taught during the major program and analyze a specific, very focused economic problem. It amounts to about 15,000 words, and it should have a certain methodological rigor and be critical and well argued. Most of our students work more empirically, so analyzing data on a certain problem, but there also have been some more theoretical papers. Here on the slide, you see some examples, and really, I mean, one of the strengths of this program, I think, are the master theses that have come out of it, and many of which have been actually published later on in peer-reviewed journals. So we have some very high-quality theses to show from the past, and you can see a diversity of topics here on the slide. So students in the past have worked on teacher discrimination, have worked on payroll taxes in Brazil. There has been a lot of work on the oil industry in the Amazon. There has been work on more financial issues, especially in emerging countries, but also looking at international trade. You can also find on our websites, on our web pages, some examples of previous theses. Now, one thing I want to mention before we move on is that although you're doing an MA in development studies with a major in economics development, you can further specialize. And one specialization we offer in ECD, in economics of development, is called Economic Analysis of Development Policies. And that's really focusing on how you can use econometrics, statistics to evaluate development policies, and really can give you cutting edge tools. That's an option, but you do not have to do it, but you can do it, and then you have to take a certain combination of courses. We are almost done, and then we can take questions, and Harsha will also add a little bit her perspective. But there are some very important documents on the website that you can get more information on. There's the academic calendar that you find on the webpage that gives you an overview of all of the majors and the course requirements, and also some details on the courses that you can take. And there's a number of other important documents that you will find on the website relating to our rules and regulations, but also on how to settle in The Hague and how to start living in the Netherlands shall you come. You can also find some more specific information about our major on the website. If you go onto the website under Economics of Development major, and you can see an overview of the types of courses that we teach, but also what kind of expertise we have as lecturers and professors. Now, if you have questions, please do not hesitate at any point in time to write an email to me. If you need more in-depth feedback, I'm also happy to schedule a meeting with you via Zoom or another software. And I just want to say that we're all very excited that you're interested and that you came to this webinar today. And I hope you will come and join us later this year for this exciting program. Now, I say exciting because not only do we have a lot of academic program, but we also have quite some social activities planned every year. Now this year with the pandemic, it's been a bit difficult to do the things we usually do. Typically in February, we will do a study trip, and we usually go to Dublin, Ireland, and to visit Trinity College there. And you will have the opportunity to listen to some presentations there and also do some sightseeing and so forth. So more kind of a team building trip. I hope that next year, depending on how the pandemic evolves, we will be able to offer this again. Now, for this year's batch, we couldn't do it in February because it was at the height of the lockdown, and many students were actually not around yet. But in the summer, we're planning to do some activities within the rules so that we can socialize a little bit more. So talking about socializing, here on the last slide, you see some channels that you can reach us on. So please connect with us through Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and the like. And now you can post your questions in the chat room. But before that, I want to give Harsha here on my left-hand side an opportunity to introduce herself and comment a little bit on what I've said. Harsha is one of our very good students, and I want to thank her for coming here today in her busy schedule.
Thank you so much, Matthias. So hi everyone, I'm Harsha. I am from India, and after a lot of research and analysis, I think I chose ISS, and I think if I have to put it in a small brief statement right now, I think it's a very good decision that I have made. Considering pandemic and COVID and all of that, I think one of the best uses of my time, if I could have made that, was doing a master's, and doing it from ISS is a prestigious opportunity for me as well. So that's a little bit about me, and I think more I can share more as and when your questions come in, and yeah, I can share my experiences then.
Okay. Thank you very much, Harsha, and thank you very much, Matthias. We will now move on to the Q&A session. We do have some questions from prospective students. The first question goes to the student first, so to Harsha. So sorry, Harsha. No, everything now is online, so there is not many physical classes. How does that impact you? Maybe you can explain a little bit more about how the education is so far for you.
Yes. So definitely in the beginning of the course, I wasn't even in the Netherlands. I was studying from my home country, and the institute as well has made a lot of changes to accommodate for the opportunities that we can have in this currently constrained environment. Having said that, it was difficult to adjust because if you come to college with the expectation, not just, at least that was my idea of college or university again, that it's not just about academics, but it's also about meeting new people, meeting people from a diverse background, which ISS proudly holds. So having said that, it was a little disappointing, but at the same time, it was the best one could do with at that point of time. And even now, it's uh, having like if there are no constraints, I think all of us would want to get back to a more social, a more physical space, but that's just not in our hands. So I think I have taken a very rational outlook towards it, as to this is what it is. How can I make the most out of the situation instead of um, feeling upset about the whole thing. Uh, and I think that approach is helping me, manage all of this time much better. Just want to add another thing, that because it is new for the institute as well as for the students, I think there has been a lot of feedback, and everyone has been quite open to listening to students and to professors, and making changes as soon as possible. So yeah, it's not perfect, but well, nothing is at this point of time.
Thank you, Harsha. How about studying? Like, is it overwhelming for you? Like, is it like challenging to be constantly online, 6 hours, 8 hours, or it's the benefit?
Yeah, I think it's not 6 hours or 8 hours every time, because classes are quite distributed. At least that's how my calendar looks. I have breaks, and except for probably one day a week, I have only a class or two on that day. So it's manageable if you plan your day better, and if you are coming with that mindset. I hope that things get better and you don't have to go through this situation. But I can't say how. It's difficult to compare because I haven't attended a class online offline. Uh, as to how it would have been, and I've come back to studies after 3 years of work time. So it's not. I mean, I think I've eased into this scenario as well. I think changing back to coming to classes will again be a change, and I think any change, I think once it's difficult in the beginning, then you ease into it, and then when that situation changes again, again it disturbs you a little. So yeah, it was difficult in the beginning, but now I'm quite settled. I would love to get back more so to get in touch with my fellow colleagues and my professors, and more, because I think I miss more what happens outside the class, in the corridors. The those are the conversations which are more important, which is what I'm definitely missing. The in-class learnings, I think, are not very different from what it otherwise would have been. My personal view, of course.
Yes. Thank you very much, Harsha. Well, there are a few questions for you, as expected. Your research paper, how did you thought about your research paper before you came to ISS, or while you were at ISS, because of the classes and because of your peers? Yeah.
So I think I missed this part in my introduction, that I studied earlier. I've done a bachelor's in economics, mathematics, and statistics, but then I chose a whole different route, and I started working as a program director at an NGO. So there was not much link between my academics and then what I was working for. And then again, I've chosen to I've jumped back to the world of academia. So to be honest, I didn't have much of headway into what I want to research on, but I was quite certain that it has to be something in the field of development, because that's where my heart lies. I think I enjoy contributing to that space with whatever I can do at this point of time. So that was the only link I had. But the professors here have been really considerate and helpful. I think I've spoken multiple times to Matthias himself, and I've spoken to other professors. They've been very approachable as well. Many of them we have not met in person, but they're just an email away, like they promised. So that's quite nice. I won't say I'm still fixed on a topic, but I think that's the process, right? I think it's important for you to also get into it. I know a few of my colleagues who are quite determined and certain as to what they want to do and how they want to do it, and there are a set of people like that as well, and they have their own benefits and their own paths to take. But at the same time, it's not difficult if you haven't chosen a research question before coming here, because there is enough help to, to, to get you to think about it. And courses here as well help you with it. There were so many new things I got to know after studying here, especially the general course, which gives you a broader, in-depth understanding of not just economics but social science. But the foundation courses as well were very insightful. So it's good to always have an economic thought at the back of your mind, but also be aware of what's happening otherwise in the social sciences spaces, so that you can quickly find connections and probably start thinking. Yeah.
Thank you, Harsha. We have a question. I think it's for Matthias, but maybe Harsha can add to that later. It's about career advancement after they have graduated from this master program, and particularly taking the major in economics of development. The student is asking what can we branch into, like what do most students dive into? And that's for you, Matthias. And Harsha, maybe you can also explain later, where are you going? What is your plan in the coming months, let's say?
Yeah, I've been at ISS for almost 7 years, and I've seen students go into a really broad range of fields. So some of the MA students, for instance, that I have supervised, they then went on to do a PhD in economics at other places or at ISS also. So some of the MA students have moved on to become academics. So ISS also prepares you for that, and also helps you then to make that next move in terms of writing recommendation letters and advising where one could go afterwards. Apart from the academic world, a large majority of our students go to work for the governments in their home countries, but also for international organizations, but also the private sector. If I just think back the last few years, I've had a student now working in data sciences for an IT company. I had students work at tax office for the governments back home. I've had students start in NGOs such as tell me you, what's Darren, here across the street? Oxfam. But also international organizations such as the World Bank and so forth. So it's a kind of diverse set of institutions and opportunities, and some of them have gone into politics. So what I can say is the sky is the limit. There's so many opportunities afterwards, and we try to then also help you reach these opportunities by writing letters and advising where one could go.
Thank you very much, Matthias. Would you like to add, Harsha? What is your plan in the coming months?
No pressure. My plans for the coming months, I think
graduate.
Yeah, so after the masters, I think I would like to go back to my country and work in probably one of the NGOs or with the government there itself, because I feel like if I've had the knowledge, or if I have had the experience here, I think it only adds value to go back and see how much of that can I implement and work with. Having said that, I have my plans open because there is a possibility in Netherlands, or I think the most of EU, where you can you get a 1-year work search visa after your education gets over. I've kept my options open in the sense that if I get to work with an organization here in Europe itself, I would be quite open to do that. But I incline towards going back and working with organizations back home.
Thank you, Harsha. A question about background of this major. So this is probably for Matthias. A student is asking, how can a student cope when they do not have or have limited knowledge of the economics background? Can they still join this program and or not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when I review your applications, I always take a look if you have some exposure to, economics, business studies, statistics, because it is true that in this major you need some prior quantitative training and training in economics. That's not to say that we didn't have students with less preparation, but then before coming here, they have to to prepare in terms of reading up on some basic statistics and economics, micro and macroeconomics. But as I said, it's a pretty basic requirement, and once the students are often worried about math, well, at the end of the day, it's high school math plus a little bit more. The problem is often to kind of give economic meaning to some of the math that we teach. And so the math itself is not very complicated, but kind of trying to interpret the math is more complicated. But we give you a lot of support in doing that. And maybe Harsha has some more comments on the technicality of it. All I know is that because the program is so flexible, I mean, you can take a lot of kind of quantitative courses or just the bare minimum. And so if you're somebody who loves numbers and quantitative techniques, you can take the maximum. You can almost take only that. And if you want to have a more kind of balanced view, if you also want to do some qualitative research, you can also take a mix. And that's easy to do at ISS because we are embedded in the Development Studies Institute. But Harsha, do you want to comment on the kind of math and prior preparation?
Yes, so I think some level of understanding of math or statistics will definitely be helpful, not just for you, but to improve the quality of the classes that you're taking, which are quantitative heavy. Professors here are quite helpful, and they would definitely keep into account the diversity that's present in class. But like Matthias already mentioned, that you have enough options. So in case you want to have a majors in economics of development, but do not want quantitative or do not want to delve into that segment, you have enough and more options to completely leave that out as well. And yeah, I mean that's definitely possible. I don't know how does it work in the real world in sense of not having quantitative understanding when you have economics, purely because I haven't had an experience of that sort. But if you feel that what you want to do after this does not require much of quant, and you can do with the qualitative information or qualitative knowledge that you have, I think there's enough flexibility available here in your courses for you to be able to do that.
Thank you, Harsha. Question for Matthias. It's about major. It's about how can students from your major take another course from other majors as an optional course or specialize into, and if they were to take that, the thesis, do they have to follow the specialization, the research question, or is it open?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Thank you. So actually, yeah, you are encouraged to take courses, and you even have to take courses outside of your major, because we don't want to kind of train economists that don't look left and right. We want to train economists with a kind of broad interdisciplinary understanding and footing. When it comes to the thesis, if you look at the topics that the ECD students have worked on in the past, it's very, very diverse. And some people would say, well, is that still economics? Well, the truth is that economics as a discipline has really kind of been looking at a broad set of topics. For instance, I myself, I work a lot on how children make decisions when it comes to foods. Is that economics? Well, yeah, it is, because everything has economic consequences and determinants. So as long as you can relate your topic that you're interested in to economics, then it's okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Matthias. Maybe this is a question for the student. Now, students want to know, prospective students want to know about workload while studying the ECD. Do you have a lot of assignments? How does exam goes? How does assignment goes? Do you have to read a lot? Maybe you can explain them.
Yes, so I think I'll take it term-wise. The first term is quite, you're just getting into something new, right? So it would definitely seem much more demanding at that point of time because you're taking 3 courses from 3 different disciplines, and you have another common course that's there as well. Along with that, you're shifting to probably a new country, away from home. So keeping all that factor into account, it is definitely a demanding term, and it's a long term that you have. But I really enjoyed the courses in that term because it was allowing me to learn political science and sociology for the very first time. And I really enjoyed that. In the second, moving on after first term, it's up to you. How do you want to balance your time, and how do you want to make a term heavy or easy for yourself? Because you mostly choose all your courses post term 1. There's no mandate. You have to finish a certain number of credits, and that's up to you as to how do you take that. Say, for instance, I've chosen to increase my workload in term 2 so that I can have term 3, a lot of time in term 3 as well for my research paper. And thinking about that, a lot of students I know also do internships or do part-time work. Again, depending on which term they want to do it, they sometimes choose an internship during the term 2, so that and then hence choose most of the courses in term 3. It's quite flexible, and you have a lot of decision is in your hand as to how do you want to manage that workload that comes your way. Talking about examinations, a lot of this year was about essay writing because I think a lot of exams were take home exams. So yeah, lots of essays to write, and for that you have to definitely back your essay with relevant readings. Also, like I think readings again, that's required for classes, not just help you with exams, but help you gives you a chance to improve the quality of the class as well. Because if you haven't read, whether you agree or disagree is a secondary thing. You can bring that point to the class, and only when you everyone in the class has done that will we be able to contribute the best to the class. So yes, there are readings which help you both with improving the quality of classes as well as your examinations, helping you. Yeah, it's nice here because in an essay you can completely disagree with the professor, and as long as you've backed that essay, you're good. It's not like oh, the professor mentioned that they believe in capitalism and then you said no you don't, and then you'll be penalized for it. So you have the space to voice your opinion as long as you have some backing for what you're saying, and I think that comes from reading and putting in some hard work and effort into that.
Thank you, Harsha. And just to add to that, about reading and about all these assignments, we have a library at ISS. So if you have to do extra readings, you have to borrow books, the library is open. You have to make an appointment to visit the library for now, but we hope that in September that would change, that you can easily visit the library and also select books that you need for reading materials and also to write your essays. We do not have any more questions because it's a good presentation and everybody has very good knowledge already from this summary. So with that, I think we can conclude the webinar session for the economics of development. But is there anything that you would like to say, Harsha? Any last advice about before they make a decision to come to ISS? Maybe camera is with Harsha. So
yes, I would say it's a very good decision to be here because number one, the diversity I mean, I think I'm meeting the world here instead of traveling the world, which we can't do in this time. So it's definitely an opportunity that I have had, and like I said, nothing is perfect, but here you have the chance to make things move towards that direction. So it's a great place. I'm enjoying my time. Classes can't be online, but the place of stay is quite nearby to the university, so it's fun to be there, meet new people, share food, have fun, along with all the exams and the readings and the courses that we have to take. So I think we build a community ourselves. There's solidarity in facing the situation that we are facing, and I think I wouldn't have done it any differently than I am doing right now. Thank you, and hope to see you next year. Or this year, September.
Yeah. Yeah, and you will be seeing Harsha because she will be here to welcome you.
Yeah,
Hopefully physically.
definitely.
And Matthias.
Well, thank you for attending today, and again, thank you for your interest in ISS. I just want to say is that we want you to come because you're the guys that make this place and program special. As Harsha said, we have a very diverse community. And as a teacher, I can just say every year I'm amazed how much I learn from people in class, how people bring their experiences to class, and how we can apply some of the concepts we teach by, looking at people's experiences. So it's a very interactive place. And another thing I want to say, we're all going through this pandemic, and these times are uncertain. I think the best thing you can do, and now I'm speaking as an economist, when times are uncertain, invest in certain value, and getting a degree from ISS will be a great value for your future. I'm sure that after this pandemic is hopefully over, that the global economy will pick up again, and these will be hopefully golden 20s, and then it will pay off to have a degree from ISS, that I'm sure of. So if you have any questions, reach out to me anytime. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Matthias, and also Harsha for taking your time off from your busy schedule to conduct this webinar and give the prospective students some idea of what economics of development is all about. So with that, we will conclude our webinar session. If you have any questions, you can send me an email first at study@iss.nl. And if you would like to speak to Matthias straight, you can send me an email also, and I will connect you to Matthias after that. And if you also want to speak to Harsha to get an understanding of how the class environment or anything like that, you can also contact me first, and I will connect you to her. So thank you very much, and have a nice day.